Welcome to Leaders in the Light. This isn't just another podcast, this is a revolution.
We're Amy Shaw and Cara Calvin, two female entrepreneurs who refuse to settle. We've built businesses, taken risks, and rewritten the rules. And now we're bringing you with us.
This is for the women who have done playing small, who crave real conversations, raw truth, and unfiltered wisdom from the ones who've walked through the fire and come out unstoppable.
We're diving deep. The risks, the breakdowns before the breakthroughs, the mindset shifts, and the bold moves that separate the ones who dream from the ones that do.
This is about power, expansion, and community. It's about stepping into the life you're meant to lead without fear, without limits, without apology.
So if you're ready to wake up, own your story and rise, you're in the right place. Hit follow, leave a review, and share this with the women who need it. Let's amplify our voices and lead the way together.
Today we have an amazing special guest on the podcast. We feel very honoured to have Margo from the Two Raw Sisters here to speak with us. Amy and her have worked together, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of incredible stories. But thank you so much for being here. It's a real honour and we're really excited to delve into all the amazing things that you've been doing, as well as some of the things that maybe you haven't spoken about on podcasts before. So welcome and thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm feeling really nervous for some reason.
Why?
I don't know. I'm never nervous.
Well, do you know what? I think
all the energy in the room.
I know. To be fair, to put it into context, before the podcast, we've had some technical things going on, so we've probably been on some pretty wild rides so far already before we hit record today. So, but I must say, I'm really blessed to have you here. You're a really important part of my world, and I've watched you since I've been back in Christchurch over the last 4 years. Go from strength to strength to strength, and from spiritual point of view, business point of view. So you're an absolute powerhouse. We are more than honoured to have you sitting with us here today.
Thanks, girls.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, to shine a light on everybody's spiritual journey. And I think it's something that as females, especially in business, we can tend to mask a little bit ourselves. It's something that we tend to shy away from to maybe avoid some conversations or some judgment. So I guess we'll just start by asking how spirituality has changed you as a person.
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed me for the better, for sure. How long ago since I've seen you?
I don't. Well, I feel like I came back 4 years ago. So
I reckon it
was pretty soon after that. Yeah, it was Georgia went, and then it just spiraled, and then we met, and I was like, I love you. It's amazing.
And I loved you too.
Yeah.
No, I think it's opening up to my spirituality has definitely helped me. I think I've always been a spiritual person, but you definitely allowed me to open up to it, and I've definitely felt very supported when I've needed to from that. Yeah. And I think I always knew it was there, but it was always quite closed off because I've just never really been exposed to it, I suppose. And then just that opening up, seeing you, I always try to see you at least once a year, and I think every time I see you, it reminds me of why I do it and why it's really helpful.
Yeah.
Both personally and professionally.
I actually have never asked you this, but were you spiritual or awakened to it before we started working together?
I was really scared of it.
Yeah.
I vividly remember when I first came and saw you and you said, you had people walk up the drive with you, and I just got shivers down my spine thinking, holy shit, no.
Yeah. You're like, take them back, I'm done.
Yeah, but now I love it.
Yeah.
Like you say, my granddad and my uncle are here, and I love the feeling of them being with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's really special, and that's helped me a lot in the grieving process of losing them. And just as a whole, I think we can feel like we're on our own a lot, but actually we're not. We have this whole team around us, unbeknown to us. And it's easy to forget that. And I think you've really opened up my eyes to feeling supported when sometimes you don't. At the moment at work, for example, I feel very, not alone, but I feel like I'm holding a lot on my shoulders. Whereas we've just started talking this week. I said to you, I want to book a Reiki session because I feel like I need it. And then you said, come on the podcast. And then all of a sudden I remember all of this. That, I have granddad and my uncle here. I have my whole team around me. You're not alone.
Yeah. And I think it's hard, like, well, it's easy, and I can even be the same sometimes. I mean, I've got a huge team that are very loud, and once I've connected with my client, I then now see Butch and Granddad all the time. So you'll message me and all of a sudden they'll be there and I'm like, oh, amazing. Like, you know, what sort of work do we need to get through with Margo? And they're like, oh, you know, this is happening, that's happening. So I can preconceive, obviously, what's happening to give you the best thing. But I think in our 3D worlds, right, we become programmed to be in our logical, to be in our masculine, which is running businesses, to have plans and have structure and have control around businesses, especially something as big as Two Raw Sisters. It's very easy to shut those that support network off, which is sad, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what I've done until this week.
Yeah,
and it's what is always blows my mind as well. Was it always comes when you need it?
Yeah,
like the universe telling you something.
Yeah,
that like remember you've got this.
Yes, yeah,
and that's what I always find amazing is when I first saw you, you're like, oh, your uncle brought you here.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
But then little did I know how much I needed it.
Yeah, and he's such a big part of every session that we do. I sit down and I'm like, hey, Butch, how you going? You know, and straight off he will tell me exactly what's playing out in the now with your business, with how you're feeling, with endo, with chronic fatigue, you're feeling tired, like all of those things that come through, I can actually pre-see it before you walk in the door and I'm like, oh, this is what we're going to focus on today.
Yeah.
And I always ask, is there anything you'd like out of the session? And at the start, people are like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Now everyone's like, just see what happens.
Yeah.
You're like, just
I'm
whatever.
just sitting there relaxing.
Yeah.
You just give it to me.
Yeah. And I think that's that comes with that surrender, right? It comes with that faith and, you know, building trust, I guess, with your sitter and who's doing the reading for you as well. But I guess, you know, your granddad was obviously a big part of our of work that we've done there. So how did that, I guess, that spiritual side or the work that we did together help with that grieving process?
I think I never knew how close I was with my granddad until we did this work.
Yeah.
And how much of a role he plays in my perception of success, maybe. I think when we worked with you, we did this amazing passing with Granddad as he was passing through, and he's always been there in our sessions, and he was just the perfect person in terms of caring, loving, business focused, and that's a real attribute that I try and move forward in my business. And I think that really this whole working with you has made me realize that's what I want. In terms of the type of business person I try to be. I'm not like a hard ass bitch. You know, boss bitch. Like you need that soft side. You need the kindness. You need the helping of people, and that's everything he did.
And do you think his passing has had much more of an influence on you after?
I feel more connected to him.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I have a similar story with my grandmother, where I feel more connected since she's passed, and I almost feel like she influences me a little bit more in her passing in spirit than she did in this world.
Well, often in this world, they're programming, they're wearing masks, they're the versions that we were before we were spiritual.
That's so true.
So they can unlock those gifts. It's like when we were, you know, my grandmother was not spiritual. She wasn't a wizard or a witch or anything like that. And in this life, she was quite subdued almost, but in spirit she's become one of the most powerful, like your grandmother, like Butch and Granddad, you know. And sometimes we don't see those in this world, but then when they leave, their main work starts with you. It's
amazing, isn't it, how I always definitely had a great connection with them, but more so now do I feel like I do.
I totally
which
relate.
Is really comforting.
And
from that first session we had where I was like, fuck people around me, like
I often don't remember ever the sessions either, so things will happen and then I don't remember.
Whereas now I feel really supported by it.
And it's a lonely road without them, you know. Like I think now, like I couldn't imagine not having them, you know. And I think then once that's stripped away from you, it's so loud, and it's so quiet, and you feel so alone. But I think it's important to be able to keep tapping into it. And I always say to everybody, it's like a spiritual muscle. You have to keep working on it. You have to keep connecting with your guides. You have to keep working with your team, because it will start to disappear as your logical mind sort of sets in.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I see my sessions with you as like a form of building my mental strength. And I always think, okay, I've got it.
Yeah.
But then it's interesting you say you always have to keep training it, because I always get to a point in the year where I'm like, I need to see Amy now.
Yeah. And that's often when the lessons come. Like I know when I've got a text and it's like, hey, I need to see you. I'm like, all right, we're writing a universal lesson right now. And I'm like, and sometimes it doesn't work out. You know how someone might be like, I need it on this date. And then all of a sudden I can't do it for 3 weeks. But the timing, it all falls apart in that 3 weeks, and then they come back to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always works out.
Yeah. And so also we've done quite a bit of work with your endo through it, and chronic fatigue and stuff like that. And I know that was very nervous system driven, especially the chronic fatigue. So how have you found the spiritual side of yourself has been able to work through a couple of those?
I think it'll always be a work on for me.
Yeah.
Like, I think I go through peaks and troughs of feeling really good, and then when work gets a lot, or I have a lot of self-doubt issues, I think, and that's when my nervous system just like has a minute.
Yeah.
Like at the moment work's crazy, and I feel like my immune system or my chronic fatigue is just like shot.
Yeah.
So that's when I think I get annoyed that I let it get to that point all the time.
Yeah. But as business owners, sometimes you have to keep pushing one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, you do, and I'm very much like I love what I do. It shapes me.
Yeah.
I want to help people. It's not just a job for me, and we're all the same. It's part of our life. It's who we are. And when people say, "Oh, work-life balance," it's like, yeah, but my work is also me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I find difficult, is there's not that off switch.
Yeah.
And from having chronic fatigue, I need that off switch.
Yeah.
But it's finding different ways to do it.
And I guess it's that part of the universe, right? You don't listen. All of a sudden the chronic fatigue's there. And
like
it forces you to slow
listened.
down. So it's like that time, and I can feel yours at the moment. And your energy levels, like your meridians are going into the ground again. So I don't know if we've had that before with you, but it just means the energy's going out through the feet into the earth. So you're not replenishing anything that you do. So it's like putting those steps in place, I guess, which could be a visit to me, or, but also it's like finding those triggers throughout it to go, oh, actually I need to stop.
Yeah. And it's interesting because normally I know when I get to a point, I'm like, okay, sauna, ice bath, or like float, and I've done that this time, but it hasn't been enough.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah, definitely.
But then you just keep going and going and going.
Well, the thing that's different is that the only way you stop that is by changing the behaviour. And the identity around the work ethic, the productivity, and we talk about that a lot, because then you're heavily in your masculine, you're not in your feminine, you're not in alignment and flow, and it feels difficult. And so the way you change that is when you start to see those little pebbles, or you start to, a couple of months ago, when you start to feel like, okay, so I can tell I'm overworking, my calendar looks really busy for the next month, that is when the behaviour changes. That is when you ask for help, which you've never done before, or that is when you start to, schedule in a float, 3 times a week, or you start to look at different ways of changing things. But as women, we don't do that, because we have quite high expectations of ourselves.
Totally.
And
And that
the juggle,
obviously leads to
right?
burnout. Yeah.
It's the juggle.
And it's interesting when you get to that point, and all of a sudden what you used to do kicks in, like the self-doubt, all the shit that's like, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm failing, am I even doing the right thing with my life?
It's imposter syndrome, right? We start to be like,
it's like what your go-to that you used to have starts kicking in. And that's what frustrates me, because I'm like, I've done so much work to not get to that point, but now that my brain is just diverted to that, I'm like, I'm better than this.
Yeah, and it stays within your nervous system, because your nervous system, when it is shot, craves normality, and sometimes we sit in that normal state where chaos, tiredness, overworking, that feels comfortable. So it's about actually actioning at that point and going, no, I want the new version of it, which is meditation, it's self-rest, it's self-love, it's, you know, coming back to yourself, but it's very hard in those moments to do it.
Totally. And the key thing that I have learned on my journey is, because I would do this, I would rest, I would recuperate, and then I'd go hard again, and then I'd burn out again. So I've done that in my career for 15 years. What I now do is, this new identity of me is somebody who does those restorative things every single day.
Yeah.
So
she is great on self-care.
The thing is that
I wish I had more discipline on that.
That is a new identity that I've embraced in the last probably only 4 months. And so the key would be, you know, every day is like, where are my pockets of my day for rest, for, you know, for all of the things that you need to do around your own self-care, and taking the time and putting those boundaries up. Originally, you start with guilt, and then you start without guilt, and that's how you start to change that programming and that behaviour. Because what you want to do is, you don't want to go, you know, emergency button, press the emergency button, all the sirens are going, you're like, right now I'm going to take 3 weeks off and go to Bali. It's about saying, what am I doing today and what am I doing tomorrow, in order to create that life where I can go hard when I need to, but equally in that same 24-hour period, I'm allowing myself the opportunity to rest, because really it's about slowing down to speed up. Because I found that really difficult, even sitting and having lunch with a cup of coffee, eating lunch in the garden at my house, doing that every day, just sitting there and enjoying 15-20 minutes of lunch. I would be it feels lazy in my head. I'm like, imagine if my husband come home and he saw me just sitting in the garden eating lunch,
or someone pulls up and you're like,
exactly, and then you pretend that you're like pulling out weeds.
It's the trend of like comparison. Everyone it's like being busy is a cool thing, and you know, just racing to the finish line and being burnt out. It's like, who can be the most tired?
It's to do with where you seek validation. So a lot of us as women seek validation through productivity. So what we do is we focus on how much we can do in a day, and if we don't do that in a day, or we have a day where we just rest or just be in our feminine energy, we get to the end of the day and we think, I have achieved nothing today. Who am I? I am nobody. I am nothing. And we start to have all that negative self-talk. But when we do achieve at the end of the day and we've ticked all the boxes, we feel validated. So that's just recognizing, which is what all my clients, what we work through together, which is exactly how I was, is looking at how we can find validation in our own self-worth internally, rather than seeking it outside of ourselves, in terms of productivity, in terms of how much money we make, in terms of what things we have, what our house looks like, what car we drive. Because when we give our power away, we inevitably end up with a dysregulated nervous system and like autoimmune disease, burnout, illness, because we don't even have time to process our emotions.
I feel like you've come a long way though. You have come a long way from when I first met you to be in burnout all of the time, to now actually acknowledging it and stepping forward before it comes. You know,
I completely agree. I always think it's crazy, from being bedridden for 2 years to running a business now. You know, you definitely forget where you were and how far you have come. So far,
like a different human. And I know self-love and self-worth has been a big one for you. Where do you sit at the moment in terms of self-love?
Well, I'm not very good at this very minute. I've been definitely just full of doubt the past 2 weeks. We're doing like a big launch into Australia this year. And I think you go through troughs, you're like, I'm so excited. Yes, you can see the potential, you've done all the workings on paper, and then it's almost like you have too long to think about it. And then you're like, oh shit.
It's that gap in between,
you do it, or like you get a bad review and you're like, oh, nah, everyone's going to hate it. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment, but I'm just like today, had a really good chat with Will about it, and just slowly starting to recognise, and I think that's the importance of communication and talking and having your tools. Like, you're one of my big tools in my toolbox in terms of, okay, if I'm I know I'm pretty low right now in terms of energy, nervous system. I know I'm like pretty low.
We'll sort that out next week.
Yeah, we'll sort that out.
Yeah.
So,
but it's normal
just
to go through those
recognising
waves. And I think for you at this moment, it's finding out what is the lesson.
Yes.
Like before you come to me next week,
Yeah.
like what is my lesson? Why am I feeling like an imposter?
Yeah.
Why am I feeling like I can't achieve it when I've achieved everything that I
Yeah.
have with Two Raw Sisters? Like find out the why and dig deep within yourself.
And I think I know that I know what it is. I know I'm just thinking I can't do that, you know, but I know I can.
You can, yeah.
And it's just finding that drive again. I mean, the drive never leaves me, but it's the doubt that is there. But I think, it's like you just said, learning from it. I think recognizing it is the big thing, and then learning from it. And that goes with business as well. Like we've tried so many things, we've failed at so many things, and
nothing's a fail, right? It's a lesson.
Yeah.
It's
figuring out, okay, what's the learnings? What can we take forward? And it's exactly
and how brave that you take risks.
It's the
you
only way.
and Rosa take risks. You took an idea, you ran with it, and sometimes like I shake you. I'm like, do you realize how amazing you are? Like everyone I talk to, I'm like, oh my God, these girls are like, because I can see the potential. I've seen the potential. I've seen Australia. I've seen this, like all those things are so powerful. And then you've got your two gorgeous guides in spirit who are literally fueling everything behind you.
Well, and that's what Will was saying this morning. He was like, imagine if you weren't taking this risk into Australia, like how would you feel?
Yeah.
I'm like, I would. Well, I'd feel shit. Like and then I'm like, well, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So that's where I know I can do it.
Yes.
It's just having that self-belief.
Yeah.
And I think too, with any business, you go through seasons, right? So you have the winter, you have the autumn, you have the spring, you have this, so you can't be in business in an upward trajectory all the time.
No.
You have to have times where you're going back, you're creating, you're also upgrading. So all of these doubts and limitations that you're feeling now is the resistance that you need to take you to the next level. Once you go through, like Amy was saying, the lesson of this, and you do your upgrades and you lean on your tools and resources and you launch, you'll move through. You're probably in a winter, you're moving through into a spring, and then once you launch into Australia, you'll hit summer, and that's where you reap the rewards of all of that challenge. But we can't up level, we can't move to new levels without the lesson, without the resistance, without the challenge. We just can't.
It's where the growth happens.
And that's something
It is
I
literally
always
where the growth happens.
pride myself on, is taking those risks. And
Yeah.
I think going back to my two spirit guides, Butch and Granddad, like they always took the risks.
Risk takers. Were they notebook writers? They've both got notebooks.
Yeah.
I love that. Do they send you signs or messages? Like, do you have a specific sign that whenever you see a certain animal or something that reminds me of your granddad, or he sends you messages like
More
that?
like butterfly always reminds me of Granddad.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
But well, we had that thing once where Butch always moved my stuff when I was in a rush,
Yes, to slow you down.
but that hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, probably.
Yeah.
Because you're not rushing like
But I wouldn't say though.
You're not as rushed as you used to be.
No, I'm not. But I wouldn't say I've been very aware recently.
So maybe it's that just reconnecting with yourself and starting to get those messages
100%.
through.
I feel like I've lost touch.
Yeah, we all disconnect. We all disconnect.
You were literally saying that to me recently with your huge travel schedule and your work.
Yeah, I didn't even connect in once in
and
Europe.
you were saying,
I was like,
I'm looking forward to coming back and just resetting and connecting, because even those of us who are easily able to connect don't.
Yeah.
And it's always annoying because you know how good it makes you feel.
Oh.
When you connect, so you're like, why do I go?
Yeah.
I know.
And then
so long without it.
So long
Yeah.
without it. And it's what you're just talking about before, Cara, with your daily rituals and stuff. It's exactly what we teach with people in food and meal prep.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's my non-negotiable every week.
Yeah,
And then I'm like,
but
well,
you
I've
know.
just gone away from like what I need.
Yeah.
But again, it's just a lesson in terms of remembering that.
But we're also human. We are
my
human.
gosh,
We've got
aren't
human
we?
programming. I mean, I'd love to spend all my time up there, but it's just not.
I
It's
know.
just not possible.
No.
And we have to deal with other humans who maybe aren't as healed, who aren't as enlightened, who don't have the awareness, or and so that is a challenge as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is your biggest triggers? Like self-trigger and business trigger?
As in to spiral.
Well, just to be like,
How far are we triggered?
How far are we triggered?
Yeah.
But, like I've got triggers in my life, and every time it happens, I'm like, oh, okay, what do I need to learn? Like, have you, like, where you're feeling at the moment,
Not
like
poor
maybe
spelling.
it's a great
We're going
thing.
really deep.
Huh?
Not poor spelling.
Yeah.
We're going much deeper than that
No,
trigger.
like if there's something that triggers you at work or spiritually at the moment that maybe has started to change the trajectory of where your head's at.
I think when I'm challenged
Yeah.
in a really good way, but it's challenging,
Yeah.
and I maybe don't feel in control, that triggers me in a business sense.
Yeah.
And that's this at the moment with Australia,
Yeah.
with a new mentor who's amazing, and he's challenged me in so many different ways, but it's like, it's a lot.
Yeah, and it shines a light on the imposter syndrome and the insecurities
Yeah.
around self-worth,
Yeah,
and
totally.
it's just making you step up and go, I am all those things.
Yeah. And just thinking things in a different way and seeing the potential that you can reach. So that is probably, that would be a trigger, but it's like a good result.
Yes, yeah.
But it probably spirals me into, oh my God, so much to do. I don't know where I'm heading now.
Yeah.
Personally, I think when I don't feel like I have my off switch.
Yeah.
Like at the moment, I'm dreaming about work. You know, I'm dreaming about all the things that can go wrong. You know, when you have that one thing that's in your head all night. So I feel like I'm not getting a break.
Yeah.
That's my trigger.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, okay, I'm home. I'm like, yes, it's
Yeah,
home
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Go have
There's no home time. There's no switch off.
Go
for
have
business
dinner
owner.
with Will, like nice weekend, hang out with friends. I feel guilty for not working.
Yeah.
I can relate to all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned before about control. So in terms of feeling out of control, how does that make you feel when you don't have the control that you have now? Like what's the underlying emotions that are sort of coming through when you feel a real lack of control?
I get angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like anything at home, I'm like,
Yeah.
you know.
Just switch.
Oh,
yeah.
0 to 100.
And I'm like, I'm a bad partner. I'm not a bad partner, but I'm not the person I want to be.
Yeah.
You can't always be present.
No.
Yeah.
And then I don't feel like hanging out with my friends, and my friends are really important to me in terms of that balance.
Yeah.
So I think I become so far from the Margo I want to be that would be the
Control is a big one for women,
Yeah.
particularly high achieving business women.
Oh, totally.
You'll find,
Yeah.
and then a lot of that comes down from this lack of internal trust. It's like
Yeah.
trusting yourself
Yes.
to know that you are going to make this happen.
Yeah.
It's that fear of the unknown as
Yeah.
well.
And it's in alignment. Like
Yeah.
95% of the time, your business is in alignment and it works. But also those 5% where maybe it's not 100% alignment and you've had the lessons and it hasn't worked out has actually triggered another idea which has become successful.
Totally.
You know, so I think it's like for you, like if we're not thinking podcast wise, like one-on-one, like it's about that deep belief and that self-worth that you need to be like, I am so amazing. You know, and sometimes I don't think you see that, or we don't all see it, you know.
I feel like that's
we're the
very
first
normal.
critics.
Yeah.
We are the first critics. We're like, oh, you didn't do this so much, or that didn't get enough reach. I think social media can be really hard and damaging. You know, you spend a lot of time on a post or something and everyone's watching it and no one engages and you're like, oh, okay, cool. You know, there's a lot of parts of business that can take all of that validation and make it feel like criticism.
It's so shit, isn't it? We had last weekend we were driving to Wanaka on a family holiday and I got an email got my email notifications on my phone, which I'm
terrible.
gonna switch off.
Yeah, no, that's switching off.
No,
before this.
that's what I would tell you to do that.
Yeah.
And it was a bad review.
Yeah.
And it just
crumbles you.
And this, like, I reckon that was
Ruins
like
the whole
trigger
weekend.
of this real spiral. And you can get so many great reviews. You glance over them and you're like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
But it's the one negative that will always get you.
Yeah.
And that, it's so annoying because it's like, why?
How do you manage social media? Because obviously you guys have got a big platform on lots of different channels. How do you, like, from like your inner child and your little girl that you have to take care of, reading those sorts of things, like how do you guys overcome it? Do you work with Rosa on it? Are you guys kind of like support each other, or are you just kind of...
I don't actually have much to do with our social media, or I try and keep it very work.
Yes.
Like when I'm at home, I'm not really on social media. We have a marketing manager who deals with our what we're putting up and what we're doing depending on what key messages we need. And Rosa does a lot of the Instagram messages, but I think our Instagram community has always been very positive.
Yes, yeah. Well, you've created something very special.
We really try and create that positivity. Yeah. I'd say the more negative thing is over emails, or I do all of our app support emails, and that's where I'm the one that gets all the negative stuff. Yeah. Like all the tech issues, or like, I'm like, I know there's an issue. Or like...
You must need like a wee detox cleanse afterwards. Yeah. Like, like an energetic one where you like flush it all. Because it all sticks to us,
It does. So I would say I don't have a problem with social media because I feel like we have created such a positive community. And we've worked really hard to do that.
You're very authentic.
Yeah, I probably get a lot of encouragement from social more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than negative.
Yeah.
TikTokers can be brutal sometimes.
We're not on TikTok. I avoid it like the plague.
Showing our age.
No, I'm like, what is it? The TikTok?
Yeah, I don't really like TikTok.
Yeah.
No.
I think
I think your messaging is so powerful because I think you guys dive into obviously like how food has helped you and Rosa with both of your own, I guess feminine wounds that have come out in different diseases and all those sorts of things. But I think it's also important that you guys are like super vulnerable, and I think you guys are like creating an amazing platform for the younger generation, that can heal themselves through some of your journeys that you guys are very raw and honest in sharing about, plus food. I think you guys are both soul leaders and soul teachers, which is a really big job. It's the same as us, and I think we've all got such a big job for these girls that are on social media and that are struggling with whether it be, eating disorders or diseases or chronic fatigue or endometriosis and all of those sorts of things. I think you've created more than anything that is to do with food, So I think hats off to you. It's a pretty incredible thing.
Oh,
definitely. And I think more people need to be having these conversations and saying like, I struggle with imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because 100%. We don't do that enough. And I think we all feel like...
but from the outside, people will be like, they don't feel that. It's
and
like,
I think the difference is that you really value courage and you value the vision and you know that your story is there. You went through those things to impact other people. I think holding on to that and being authentic and real just makes it safer for other people to own their own shit, really.
Because everyone's got to own their own story and their shit and their trauma and their triggers and their inner child wounding and all the things that come with it,
And I think that's the thing, everyone's from the outside, oh my God, you girls are doing so well.
Yeah, exactly.
Can look at you girls and be like, oh my gosh, you guys have just started like 2 new businesses. That's incredible. You've been working so hard, but that working so hard does come with its consequences.
Definitely.
And it is fucking hard.
Yeah.
And it's finding the balance that works for us, because you can't, as you had been telling me, Amy, you can't run at 100 miles an hour.
And so Amy needs to take her own
probably
advice.
Should take my own. Maybe I'll go on the table
maybe
next
you both
time.
need to come and see me and take your own.
But I think
advice.
as well, I've learned over time, my neurospicy brain works differently. So some of the things that are out there don't work for me, because I can't just be like, if I'm hyper focused, just switch it off. It's like, it doesn't really work like that. Where does the energy go?
Yeah.
But then I have learnt more and more, especially coming back from Europe. I was like, I'm so excited to get to know myself again.
And
ground myself again. Like, I was kind of a bit dysregulated when I came back as well. I'd been so busy avoiding what was in front of me since probably October last year. A lot of things in my life had ended. And then I was like, I'm going to fill every single second so I don't have to think about it.
That's the thing, isn't it? And that's what's, for me now, it's like work was just that easy thing to divert to.
But sometimes I think you need those seasons too, because what you've created is the opportunity and the amazing hard work that you've put into Australia. I created 2 businesses within that time. So I think, as you said, there's ebbs and flows in every single businesses, and sometimes you need that hyper-focused stage where you are maybe avoiding some feelings, but some magic comes from that as well.
I think for me, it's like not getting to the point where it's like I'm so burnt out.
Yeah, it's the day-to-day. It's about creating the space during each day to heal yourself.
Because I don't like, as we were just talking about, getting to that person where I'm not the Margo I want to be.
Yeah.
And I can relate to all of that. And a lot of the time,
and I think
sometimes,
most females can.
absolutely. And sometimes when you're carrying that mental clutter around all day and you just feel like you can never get a break, that is really exhausting as well. So you're almost on the the back foot when you start the following day because you're in this depleted state. And I was literally just talking about this on a podcast before, where I was trying to distract myself, even to the point where I would take myself to the beach for a walk, but I would take the podcast with me. So I was never alone with my own thoughts. I was not emptying my brain. I was just creating more noise, but trying to do it in a way that looked like I was looking after myself. But again, it's about saying, well, this is what I've always done. This is the way I've behaved my whole life. This is the capacity that I've ran at. But actually moving forward, is particularly moving into Australia, you're going to have to create some guilt-free boundaries in order to perform at an even higher level, but doing it in a way that feels aligned. And what does that look like?
And Australia's going to be amazing.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Like, if you think what you've created here, you've got a massive market in Australia. Like, it is absolutely going to take off. No one is doing what you guys are doing, you know? So I think it's like you've got to get to that point where you and Rosa are like looking around and backwards at what you've created and being like, holy shit, we're fucking amazing.
And I know that deep down.
Yeah.
Like, I know it. But there's just like that surface level of I'm just used to having that self-doubt, so I'm just going to bring that in.
Yeah.
Like I had the excitement, I had all of that like a month ago.
Yeah.
And now I've just like, as things have come up or like hard things to like tackle have come up, I'm like, that's just slowly, you know.
And you almost need to go back to those and say, thank you for the triggers, thank you for the lessons. It's actually going to make my business better by these hard couple of things. What a blessing they'll come now before we launch. You know, so it's reframing how you think about those challenges that are coming towards you, because the universe is only bringing them to you so that your business is successful there. Both your Butch and Granddad are like doing these ones, you know. But that's what those lessons are.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's the power of talking to people.
Yeah.
Like, we think we can do everything on our own, but we can't. And that's where Phil, who we've been dealing with work as a mentor, he's been amazing because he's reframed how I think about things. And just hearing you say that, reframing that angle. And I
take the negative away and make it a positive.
And the same with failing. It's like, cool, okay, that happened. That sucks in the now, but what can you take from it? And
how brave are we that we took the thing and it didn't work, but actually we're going to repivot into something that is going to work. I always try and think that when things are tough and things are coming at me, you know, I've had, you know, a lot of relationship lessons in the last sort of like 4 years, and I'm like, okay, I am deeply grateful for the universe putting that on my path because I'm a better human because of it. I'm a more awake female. I'm more in my feminine. I'm more in this. Whereas I didn't have those things beforehand. Was it hard? Yeah. Parts of it were really, really hard. But then I stand back now and I'm like, I am deeply grateful for that lesson that you gave me to make me better.
And I'm really grateful that I can be that person that understands that. Because so many of us don't, and we just put it in the too hard basket.
Yeah.
And
or the why me or the
just
victim.
Sit in the victim, sit in it. And it's like, come on.
Yeah. But it is hard in those moments too, where you're like, 4 or 5 hard things happen, you're like, oh, I'm,
life's
you know,
shit.
It's shit and fuck you and this and that. But then then you have to step back, and sometimes I had a bad day, you know, a while ago, and I said, you know what, Cara, I'm going to feel like shit today. I'm going to be angry at the universe. I'm going to be angry at the time frames. They've shown me things that hasn't come to light. Like, I'm just going to be angry today. But I said, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to look at the lessons. And then I look back and I was like, oh, actually, it was a detour to make me a better person. It was a detour for more learning. It was a trigger for the universe to be able to match my higher version of myself that I wasn't before I had that. So I think always reframing that is what's changed my life. And I think for you as well, it's like, oh, how great.
And that's why I'm going through that right now.
Yeah.
100%.
Go back through and write a list of all the bad things that are happening and reframe it into the positive.
The other, when we were voice memoing, you were like, write down all your doubts and then burn them. I did that and I felt fucking awesome.
Yeah, because you're like, duh, and then you're like, I don't ever remember I said it, I probably channeled it, but...
yeah, no, you did say
that. But those are therapeutic things where you can release it.
Yeah, and you can actually do that every day.
I know.
So do you know what I mean? It's those small things that you can do, like if you're having doubts, write 2 or 3 down, burn it every day or once a week or something like that. It's those rituals that are going to keep you topped up.
Yeah.
But actually, like Amy said, it's actually okay to go through like to feel like crap.
Yeah.
It's okay
or
to
feel
sit with
disappointed.
it. And also, it's okay to feel like you're not achieving what you wanted to achieve, even though you feel like you shouldn't say that because you've achieved so much. Like sometimes we feel like, who am I to want for more? But I think what's possible for you guys because of what you've created is just huge, global.
Oh, mate, I've said it from the first time I met them. I was like, oh, you guys are interesting. And I work with both of them separately, you know, so
Very
it's
different people.
very different people. So, and then, but they have the same common goal. They're both leader souls, which means they're here to teach, but they do it in a really different way. And I run a business with my sister as well, and it is the best thing in the world, but it also has its challenges because you're family first, you know?
Yeah, and it's been really interesting transitioning, just changing the business around as Rose has had Hetty.
Yeah.
And just the level of understanding we have for each other at the moment is like amazing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I understand she's going through that motherhood stage at the moment. She's decreasing her workload, but I mean, she's still being an absolute legend and working and helping me.
I love seeing all the reels with Hetty in the back.
I do too.
Rosa
like,
is,
yes.
It's amazing how much Hetty has changed Rosa for the better.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually out the gate.
Well, we always say children are your biggest teachers.
Out the gate.
Like, there is no lesson like your child.
Like, she was just so stubborn and we butted heads together. I mean, the first session we had, you were like, you guys need to sort some shit out.
Well, the way I saw it, it was just like this. I was like, oh, okay. We've got some stuff to unpack.
Whereas now, like, we haven't had a fight in like a good year and a bit.
Yeah.
We're just so understanding of each other, and that feels really awesome to have that business support, but then that sister support.
Yeah, and I have the same with my sister, and it is a blessing, you know, because sometimes it is tough and it's hard, and business can be brutal. Some days, you know, it's a bad month or a bad this or something goes wrong. To be able to share that support with someone is massive, and someone that you fully trust.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah.
But I think, again, you've both, like, you know, as I've seen you over the years, have just grown as human beings. Because what age were you when you started Two Roars?
I would have been about 19.
You see, they were babies.
But, like, I mean, if you're saying, like, actually started, would have been 20, I'm 26 now, 21.
Yeah. So to navigate all that you've created, plus your spiritual growth, plus throwing a baby in there, plus global, you've also got wanderlust through you, which is very hard to stay put.
Wanderlust?
Yeah, like as in, like, that's through your blood, like travel.
Oh, okay.
You know?
I have it too.
Yeah, you have it. You've got the same threads in that.
We're very similar, you and I.
It's very hard to stay centred when you want to be somewhere else. But I think a lot of your lessons is about centering within yourself, your self-love, your own presence, and being okay to be anywhere. And then that travel even becomes more beautiful.
Totally. And I think being in your 20s, it's such a different journey. If I think back to me in my 20s, the fact that you have done what you've done, and then when you move into your 30s, it changes again. And I think you still have doubt, but you become more kind of okay with who you are and what you're creating. You become a bit more grounded in yourself, and I think in your 20s you're still discovering that.
Yeah.
And so
even my 30s I was still discovering.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I've only just found out who I am.
Same, but I mean, just acknowledging that at 26, it's okay to feel like I don't want to be here. It's okay to feel like I'm an imposter.
Yeah.
I mean, you're so young, and there's just so much learning to be had. I think, gosh, at 26, my gosh, I was nowhere near as put together.
That's what I need to remember. Is
Absolutely.
I am only 26 and I have built what I have built, which I am very proud of. But, you know, when you're in that shit time, you're like, you can't see any of that. And even with this whole travel thing, I've wanted to do it for so long, but felt like I haven't been able to. And that's where I think a lot of Rosa and I that's where we butted heads a lot, because she didn't understand that I wanted that. Whereas now that I've been really understanding of her moving to the farm and like working around her, I think she now understands. Yeah.
Well, both your energies, like in front of it, are very different. Yours is very like fluid. Hers is very grounded. So she's very grounded in the farm in New Zealand, and then you're like, you know, looking out globally in Australia, you know. But the thing is, what a beautiful thing. You're a homegrown New Zealand business that's created something so special, you know, but then taking also yours. So it's like the perfect fusion.
Yeah. it is, and I'm really excited about the Australia situation because I finally feel like, you know, I'm moving forward with that angle of my need.
Yeah, fulfilling that part of,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
And I mean, it's
your goals and
slightly
plans
changed a little bit from like moving there to doing like 1 month there, 2 months here, but that feels right.
Yeah.
But again, sometimes you need a transition period
Yeah.
as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not as easy when you've got a business partner who's in New Zealand and you've got family and you've got other commitments. It's not as easy, you know. And for Rosa, she won't be able to find it as easy now because she's now got a child.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
you know, so there's different elements. And I'm somebody who, like you, would literally just up and leave. But my husband owns a building company in Christchurch.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've
Very
got to
rooted in
navigate,
it.
and you too with your business, you know, being here in Christchurch, you've just got to navigate that. But the other thing is just to not ever lose yourself in your decisions and start and not make them for other people.
That's what we spoke about when you first started bringing it up. I was like, you guys got to find your own vision and allow it to be that, so that you're not doing each other's vision, because it was never going to work that way.
That's exactly. I talk about that a lot. I mean, some people are on coattails of other people's vision, and it's so important to be grounded in your own vision. Because even though it may seem difficult, the universe, when you are courageous and you step forward and your energy shifts, the universe will actually bring you magic that you didn't even know existed in order to coexist in a way that you and your sister can still have this epic business and you can be global. But again, if we're not making those moves and we're stuck and we stay in frustrated, low frequency energies, the universe is going to match that, and that's, you know, where we feel like we're stuck.
Interesting you say that, because a big part of us moving into the international markets more is that it's going to be me. And it's that, well, we're the two Raw sisters. You know, we're not. It's not just me. But a lot of that has actually come like and been brought up in business sessions with other people, or when Rosa was pregnant, I did a tour with the company by myself, and everyone loved it. And it's just, as you say, the universe brings you things that's interesting,
opportunities.
That, again, when you're not aware of it, but when you think about it.
As you evolve,
it's hard to see it.
Totally.
And because two Raw sisters can look like whatever you want it to look like.
That's exactly right. Just because it's been born a certain way and it's been a certain way for 5 years doesn't mean as you evolve and as Rosa evolves that it's not going to look completely different in 10 years' time. But again, the world is moving so quickly, and with technology, you know, and also I get inspiration, like you will probably, from not being here. So from traveling, from meeting people from different cultures, from different cuisines and food, I get inspired by that, and it actually makes me more creative in the way that I operate. And so that also, when you think about that in a positive light, can be so beneficial to the evolution of your business. Because
you're both bringing your own flavour to it.
Absolutely.
And what a platform, you know. And then Rosa has got such a clear vision of what she does, and you do as well. So combine that, it doesn't need to change. It's still the same platform, and still two Raw sisters. But just blowing up.
And also you have to remember that you've got spirit behind you. You've got
physically,
like you literally have not just the 3D world where you're making decisions that of moving and coming back and what it looks like and all the stuff behind the scenes that really takes to grow a business or evolve a business. You've actually got a higher timeline. You've got the universe on your side. You've got energetics. You've got people forget that business isn't just, you know, 3D. It's actually so massive, and there's so much support behind it.
Well, we've ended up doing a lot in our sessions
we have.
On the back end of it, saying, oh, well, that's where the energy feels good, you know.
Do you guys struggle with 5-year plans or like planning? Because that's
Amy would.
That's something I really struggle with, because like you're saying, things change, things move. So I get like thinking of a 5-year plan kind of overwhelms me, because I'm like, I don't know.
That's your control issue.
And then just bring it back.
That is back to the control.
Right.
It's like when it's in alignment, you know, I still have a 5-year plan. Like I've always got a 5-year plan for every business that I do. But what I also do is I do it in alignment. If it doesn't feel right, and I'm also a manifesting generator, so I can, you know, do a lot of different things all at the same time, but I'm okay for it to be fluid and change and stuff like that. But if I didn't have a plan, that would stress me out, because I like to know the end goal.
No, I like that. I actually have vision and no timelines, so that might be helpful for you too. And what I do is I build an identity around the vision. So that's what I coach on. So instead of saying this is what I do say this is the vision, this is what I want. I don't say 5, 10, 15-year plan. I kind of keep it as tight as I can, because I know I can compress timelines.
Yeah.
But what I do is, yes, I have a really clear vision, but I also have an identity that I build against that. So who are you going to be and who do you want to become in order to achieve that? Because a lot of the work that I do, which you will do, is with your identity, I don't want to drop into the angry version. No. I want to be someone who's calm, who's in flow, who's in alignment, who loves what she does every day, who wakes up. So this is an identity alongside the vision. And so then you work heavily on changing the behaviours. And so a lot of it is coinciding. And again, you can have 5 years, you can have 10 years, but I just take the timelines away.
Yeah.
And I say, this is what I want my house to look like, this is what I want Leaders of the Light to look like, this is what we want the podcast to look like. And again, every day we're saying, right, what are we doing today to move us closer to that?
What's an actionable step
like
to get to the next
and what am I doing personally in order to become that person?
I like that, because from a business perspective, when like I've put all these unrealistic goals in place.
There's no such word as unrealistic.
True.
Yeah, there is not.
But when you don't reach them, it's like.
But then I think, like, for me, like, I've got, like, I don't have strict timelines, but I'm also okay to adjust it. If I'm like, oh, okay, I'm actually not going to achieve that, I realistically move the goalpost.
Yeah.
So it may be forward or I might move something in front of it. So I'm constantly navigating what it is, because it's all very well to say, hey, I'm going to do this in this amount of time. Then global recession happens. And you're like, okay, well, that kind of changed the plan there. So I think you've always got to be really proactive. But from my logical masculine side of creating all of these businesses, you actually need to be able to have fluid movement through it, because it's never going, you can have the best vision in the world, but then other things are happening outside of your control, you know.
And I think that, like, I definitely do pride myself on being able to be fluid.
And I think you guys pivot a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably the most important. No.
We're two manifesting generators.
Yeah.
There's never too much pivoting.
No. Yeah. Keep all 50 tabs open, because one of them's going to stick and hit, and you're going to be like, wow, that's so amazing. You know, but I think that's what's kept your business interesting. I think if you were just a one-dimensional or three-dimensional business, I don't think it would have the same impact that it does. But you guys take risks, you do changes, you implement things, you know, and now you're looking at a global scale. You guys are brave, you're courageous, and the universe is matching it, and they'll continue to match it. But there's things outside of our control, like finances, like world things that are going on, that you have to put into your business, you know? And I think you guys do it really well. Yeah. I know sometimes it's hard to sort of step back, right? When you've sort of like created all these things, we're still very hypercritical about what we've created.
You lose perspective sometimes.
Of it, and you almost need to step back and do like a reverse vision board where you're like, oh, okay, what have we actually achieved? Yeah. Because we're all looking forward, but actually I think one of your biggest strengths is going, I'm 26 and I'm going to look back on my vision board. What I've actually created at 26 years of age. I mean, the general time where people crack millions or become CEOs or become business owners is like 49 years old. It's in the 40s. Now you're 26 years old and look at what you've created. Imagine what platform you guys are going to have, and you have to deeply believe it.
Yeah. And
when you get to 39, you have to go, that is what it's going to be, and you will make it.
And I know, like, I have that in me. You know, I'm like, and that comes from the teacher side of me, not like from a money business side of me, but like, I mean, parts, you know, yes and no. Like, I am money driven, but then also I want to help.
We like nice things.
Exactly.
We like nice things.
But I think the more
you're here to help.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the more you heal yourself, look at your shadows, and it's the same for every female entrepreneur, right? And that's why I think we become so spiritual, because we have to deeply look inward. Because sometimes, like you're saying with business goals, if we have inner healing that needs work, the lesson we might have to learn is a personal lesson before the business, before we can hit that goal. And so sometimes it's out of our control, the business goal, because we have to learn the personal lesson. And I think that's why we all are awake, and we are deeply healing, and we're looking at shadows, and we're investing in ourselves, and we are investing in a spiritual growth, because that all comes with inner healing, and that actually amplifies our business.
Oh, 100%.
The more we grow, the more we look at our nervous system, all of that stuff.
Holding abundance.
When we
being
start
able to step into your feminine.
yeah, absolutely. All of that stuff is so relevant to success in a business. And actually, the more we do that, the more we can compress those timelines of what we wanted to achieve in business. And I think more women, if they knew that, they would look deeply at themselves.
Honestly, it's like we've got the cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Like when I walk away from my clients, I'm like, go free, my little one. Like, you know, because I'm like, how amazing that we get to access all of this stuff. And there's people around there sitting at low vibration with all the lessons and the victim staping and the blaming and the low self-worth, just in this turbulent kind of whirlpool.
Yeah.
And we're like, actually step out of it and give the tools to be able to do it. Yeah.
So we're very lucky in this. Well, I mean, you've worked hard for it, but
but also like I'm so gifted in spirit, you know, like I've always said it, I'm truly grateful for the gifts that I have, because it's allowed me to help other people on many levels, not just business, but also grief. Like grief, you know, like I watched your family come through when your grandpa died.
Yeah.
The grief that was in it, and then when we finished the work on it, the peace that was there.
Yeah.
It's why I do it. It's not
special.
for anything else apart from like I watched it shift from everybody in that room when we helped that transition. It shifted from everyone and like that's why I do it. And I'm like, how amazing is it? We have access to be able to do these amazing things, and everybody's walking around in the 3D not using it.
And we need to remember those moments as well, because you can work so much in the business, not on it, that you forget about that. And the why behind it.
The magic.
Yeah, the magic.
Yeah.
Why you started in the first place. So like for me, after a workshop, when people are giving me so much positive feedback, or you changed my life, you changed the way I eat, I feel so energized now. You know, we need to remember that, because it's so easy to forget it.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's almost just having the why as like the forefront all the time, and that's what we do with Leaders of the Light. Sometimes I'm like, something doesn't hit, and I'm like, oh, like I've just had to pull out do some editing for the last podcast, and it was tough. Like actually having to sit there and look at myself, you know, channeling or you know, butting in or really big energy and all of those sorts of things. It was hard. I run Cara, I was like, this is really tough, but you've watched yourself a lot.
I just have different energy. Like I'm not somebody who is. I can. Wait.
I can't quite keep the words.
I can wait, and I can remember what I'm going to say, and I can say it in order, and my brain just works differently. But I said to Amy,
mine's gone,
being your most authentic self is the most important thing. It doesn't matter if people give you a bad review, because you're not for everybody. Not everyone's going to eat healthy.
And someone's going to want to eat KFC on a Sunday, dipping the chicken skin into the gravy. You know, it's not your people.
And it's about impact, and we can't impact everyone. Excuse my voice. We can only impact the people we're here to impact. And there's so many people in this world, and not everyone will resonate with your message, my message, Amy's message, but there will be people whose life you change, and that's why we do what we do.
It's a really good message.
It's a ripple effect.
It is. And I mean,
you can't, we're all people pleasers, but you can't please everyone.
No,
you have to choose yourself first, and your mission is really important.
And making the audience, like now I've changed my thing, because I'd be like, okay, I'll just pop this little mask on here and talk about something else. But now I'm like, that's okay. This is fully me. I'm authentically, finally at 39, stepped into myself, like without any mask, without any restrictions. I've removed all my programming, all of those sorts of things. But I'm not going to be for everyone, so I just use my audience now, like they want to be here.
And that's what I love about a podcast format.
Yeah.
I can tell you girls are loving having a podcast. Rosa and I are loving having a podcast, because you can actually sit down and have these conversations. And
love it.
When you interview people, it reminds you of your why. I love these conversations, because it's longer format, and you can really talk about stuff. And it's just always really nourishing and reminds you of why you're doing what you're doing.
Exactly. And that it can help other people. Like, you don't know, there's like a 21-year-old girl out there who's got a dream, you know, and this sparks something in her to either, you know, go and start working on her spiritual side, or start that business that she thought she couldn't do. And I think you being able to say, I've had a shit week, I'm like doubting myself, and my self-worth is down, and can I do it? Like, then being able to see someone like you, who's such a powerhouse, have those struggles, will normalise it. It's going to normalise it. So this girl can go, oh, I have those feelings too, but look at what she's done. So I think these conversations spark such a deep change for people that we, you know, that we can touch.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, we could literally just keep going, couldn't we?
Are we wrapping up?
Oh, we have to.
Okay,
We're well over.
okay.
But
we're well over. Oh, no. Okay, yeah.
But honestly, these kind of conversations are important, and your story is really powerful. And what you have created with your sister is truly inspiring. And you have to remember how many people just look at you in awe and are so just inspired by what
Not
you've
even
created.
the business, as human
I
beings.
agree. Just great humans, and
Yeah.
you know, it's been a real privilege to talk to you. And I hope, I know that we'll get an opportunity to do it again.
Yes.
You know, even
Once you're global, we'll be like, hey, can you fly
Once
back and
we all-
talk to us?
Yeah.
Or we'll all do it in New York together.
Yes, let's
you know?
do that.
We'll do it in New York
I like
together.
that idea. But yeah, thank
Some
you so
bougie
much.
podcast.
We're really
Yeah.
grateful.
No,
honestly.
thank you guys. This has been just what I needed
Yeah.
today. You've really filled my cup up, and thanks for talking about this stuff, because I think it's so important. And yeah, a lot of people initially have, woohoo, you know,
Yeah.
like Will, my partner, when I first saw you, he was
Yeah.
like, nah.
I remember that. I was like,
Yeah.
we've got some energy blocks over here, just in terms of...
And you know, now it's helped me so much, and he
I
sees
love
that.
Yeah.
And I think it's just shedding the light and helping people, because
Well, I appreciate
like
you coming
say,
and
you
talking
have
about
that gift, and you're using it, but it's just building that audience to
Yeah.
Absolutely.
help people, because it is so helpful.
and normalising it, I think, as well. You know,
Yeah.
we're so lucky that we've got access to all of it. But I'm deeply honoured that you shared your story, and you sat on a platform that probably is a little bit outside of the norm. So it means a huge amount to me. I know we've worked together on a lot of different, a lot of different things, but it means the absolute
Amy
world to
knows
both
a
of
lot
us.
about me, guys.
I do. I know a lot
She
about
knows
all my
about
clients.
everyone. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Awesome. Thank
But
you.
yeah.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you for joining us on Leaders in the Light podcast.
If today's conversation sparked something within you, take a moment to reflect, integrate, and share it with someone who needs it. We're here to rise together in truth, in purpose, and in power.
Make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and come connect with us over on Instagram at Leaders in the Light. We'll be here, holding the light until you're ready to rise again.